Okay, so this is Michael again with the, actually this time it's going to be the walking windup. I promise this video will be a little bit shorter and more to the point. Um, the walking windup is a progression beyond the roll-in. So what we're looking for here is his ability to unwind the lower half and have it kind of connect with what we're doing in the upper half. By using a step-step rotate movement, hopefully what we see is, the pitcher will kind of get the fact that we're working top and bottom together. Up until now, there's been a lot of, specifically lower half movements with the rocker or specifically upper half movements with the pivot pickoffs. But as the pivot pickoff moves into the roll-in, as the roll-in moves into the walking windup, we're starting to see a meld. Things are coming together and forming into what we hope to be a dynamic pitching motion. So I guess the best way to talk about the walking windup is just start from bare bones, start from the beginning. So what we're going to have him do is we're going to look at the guy on the bottom, okay? And again, I think the same thing with the roll-in that perhaps is haunting Mike a little bit is the extra steps he's taking. I mean, there's just too many steps there. So one, I would simplify that a little bit. If we look at the guy on the bottom here, he's going to start, with the ball in his hand, and he's going to face the target, whatever that is. And when we're throwing for a target, we want it to be about chest high for these drills. I know you have a couple different X's on the wall, one for long toss and one that's a little bit lower. I would use the lower one here. So he's going to step again with his glove side foot. Michael already does that. That's one of the things that he picked up right away. Okay, and so does the guy on the bottom, who's again right-handed. He's going to plant after he steps with his glove side foot. You're going to see him plant the throwing side foot into the ground, and he's going to bring his glove side foot up into the drifting position. We don't like to call it the balance point because that means we're going to stall. And you actually pointed that out in your email. You're trying to emphasize keeping the hip moving forward, and you're absolutely right about that. That's exactly what we want to be doing. So, to expand on that, we want to lean the torso back a little bit, and you're seeing that, here again. This is the stacking thing that we talk about when we hit or when we throw. We don't want to be too far forward. Let me clarify that. We don't want to be where the blue line is. We want to be where the white line is, which is behind our midline and driving forward. Okay, let's take a look where Michael is when he does his walking windup here. That's actually not bad. The roll-in, he's definitely more forward. So I think the emphasis of the lead leg helps Michael to stay back. Okay, you'll see that lead leg be up more so than the roll-in. He picks up his lead leg his stride foot a little bit more than he needs to on the roll-in, but it helps him stay relatively stacked here. Now the angle isn't terribly good, but I believe from where we are here that he's definitely a little bit better than he was with a roll-in where he was more forward there. So, that's a good thing. And if we could, move back to the guy on the bottom, once he's in this position here, he's going to coil a little bit, which is to say he's going to unwind, what he's already done here. You'll see that he brought his lead hip back. His lead knee back, kind of over his right foot there. You'll see his left foot cross. So he's going to begin to unwind and then drive forward. And you'll see that the glove is working up. Okay, and then he's going to create scap separation there. Let me highlight that. Scap separation there, and then pull down when he delivers. Driving that elbow. Let me get a good arrow on that for you in a different color so you can see what I'm talking about. He's going to drive that elbow, okay, to this hip. All right. So keep an eye on those two movements as he's going to drive that elbow to that hip. Okay, and pull down, elbow to hip. So, again, you'll see Michael, he does a pretty good job with that. He's doesn't have enough scap separation here. His hand is close to his body. But again, this is a progression, and I am so reluctant to overcoach him because that's good extension right there. You'll see that, you can tell that he's working on the rocker throws, and this is one of the things he is putting together, because look what happens with his knee here. He's getting good flexion, okay, and then he is posting up, okay. So we would like to see him post up a little bit more and rotate this way, but that's going to come with more time with me and more reps with this process. So, while I understand, wanting to get everything quote-unquote right, we have to be very careful about our expectations when players are this young. We don't want to, for example, take aggression out of a hitter, and we don't want to take athleticism out of a pitcher. And we want Michael to be an athlete here. And everything I'm seeing, there are a few tweaks we could make, more with the roll and the walking windup. I wouldn't change too much about this walking windup other than the length of too many steps. There's just too much that can go wrong there. I would try to drive his foot here. Let me get that. I would try to drive that leg back and around from this angle. I can't tell if he's doing that. It looks like he's a little bit open. I would like him to close this off a little bit more, to create that eventual unwinding. But other than that, I don't want to change too much here. And I know this is going a little bit long, and I promised I'd keep it short, but the more I look at this, the more I'm inclined to, good extension there again. Very good extension. The more I watch these, the more I'm inclined to, be careful about what I tell him to do in terms of correcting what he's doing right now. I have a few ideas for what we want to do tomorrow, and I'll use those. We'll spend at least 10 minutes on that tomorrow. But I guess to answer the basic question where you were kind of wondering what the difference is between between the roll-in and the walking windup, the walking windup is a progression beyond, the roll-in where the roll-in kind of introduces the lower half beyond the pivot pickoff, and the walking windup progresses that to another step further, which is to say you're using the lower half but also working in rotation and trying to meld everything together. I believe the roll-in is the hardest of these drills to perfect because it's very, very different. It's kind of not completely wedded to, the wind-up or to the pivot pickoff. So I believe it's the toughest one, both in my studying it and my teaching it to kids of all ages. It's the toughest one for them to master. It's personally the toughest one for me to do because I have such a bad rotator cuff. But I think Michael's doing a really good job, and I think I think perhaps we're worrying about him a little bit too much. I really think that he's doing a hell of a job with these, and if I could say one thing, less leg movement with the roll-in and less, and driving his chest up and staying stacked. The walking windup, I think, is really good. I wouldn't want him to change much of anything with the walking windup here. It's subtle changes, if any. And certainly nothing that I would harp on. I would praise this way more than I would pick it apart. But I hope this was helpful. I know in both videos I've talked a lot. Might have seemed like a word salad, but that's because as I'm watching this and thinking about what I want to do with Michael now and down the road, I'm wary of taking athleticism out of him. If it means making mistakes right now, I'm okay with that because I want him to remain athletic and fearless when he's approaching these. And the more dynamic he is, the more intensity he has, the higher level we can train at, and that higher level is going to produce more velocity, and because he's going so fast, less mechanical mistakes. The faster you move, the less mechanical mistakes you have. And that's one thing I want to protect, and I want to guard against, changing that. So, guess we didn't get to cut this one shorter than I thought it would be. But again, a lot to talk about, and thank you for sending me the video, and I'll see both of you guys tomorrow night. As always, good luck. Good job, Michael. You're doing a heck of a job, and we'll see you tomorrow, big guy. That's it.